is intolerance meets ignorance meets illegality. This is an intolerant time in this country. We see anger, we see hatred exploding. It is an American cancer in the body politic.
A night of celebration turned into a nightmare. A man armed with a knife barged into a rabbi's home and stabbed 5 people at a Hanukkah celebration in New York.
Governor Andrew Cuomo called this attack, quote, an act of domestic terrorism. And as Rick Damigella shows us, this is the latest in a string of anti-Semitic violence.
On the second to last night of Hanukkah, more than 100 people were celebrating inside a rabbi's home in suburban New York when a man entered the house and started stabbing people.
I saw him walking in by the door. I asked who was coming in the middle of the night with an umbrella. While I was saying that, he pulled it out from the sink.
People inside say the horrifying scene quickly unfolded before their eyes.
I ran into the other room because I tried to save my life.
The attack is the latest in a string of anti-Semitic acts against the Jewish community. Governor Cuomo called the attack an act of domestic terrorism.
These are people who intend to create mass harm, mass violence, generate fear based on race, color, creed. That is the definition of terrorism.
The suspect appeared in court Sunday morning where he pleaded not guilty. Authorities in New York City apprehended him overnight. Officials acted on a tip with the suspect's license plate number and took him into custody without incident.
He will be facing 5 counts of attempted murder and 1 count of burglary.
Now the community turns its attention to healing.
Nobody thinks it can happen in your hometown. Nobody thinks it can happen in your home county or your city. Well, people, it happened, and it happened here.
I'm Rick Damigella reporting.
All right, Governor Cuomo says that since December 8th, there have been more than a dozen hate-related incidents against the Jewish community in New York. And because of the recent attack, authorities have ramped up security around synagogues and other places of worship.
Law enforcement praising the quick actions of several churchgoers in Texas after someone opened fire on the congregation. The shooting happened this morning at a church just outside of Fort Worth. Police say the gunman shot 2 people before the heroic actions of those armed churchgoers who confronted and killed the shooter.
Very tragic day when anybody in our community suffers, whether it's a community that's next to Fort Worth or in Fort Worth itself. Our hearts and prayers go out to all the families that were affected by this incident. We'll continue to pray for them and continue to do everything we can for them.
3 people were killed during the shooting, including the gunman. As of now, authorities haven't identified the victims or the suspect.
Well, new tonight, the U.S. carries out airstrikes against 5 facilities in Iraq and Syria. The Pentagon says these locations are tied to a militia group backed by the Iranian government. So the group is being blamed for a series of attacks on Iraqi military bases that house American soldiers. And just 2 days ago, an American defense contractor was killed in a rocket attack.
And more tragedy strikes overseas. At least 79 people are dead and nearly 150 others are injured after a massive car bombing in Somalia. This video shows first responders at the scene navigating their way through the wreckage. Officials say the bomb detonated today in the middle of the morning rush hour on the outskirts of Somalia's capital city. A government spokesperson claims the attacker drove his vehicle into a checkpoint at a busy intersection. No group has yet claimed responsibility for that bombing.
A young boy rescued from a river in Massachusetts passed away this morning. Police say 2 boys went missing Saturday after going to play in the woods. Now, investigators believe the children may have fallen through the ice. Firefighters, they pulled out one of the kids from the water and rushed him to the hospital where he did unfortunately die. Now, crews, they are continuing to search for that second child.
5 passengers are expected to be okay after their small plane crashed shortly after takeoff. Multiple crews on the scene in Buncombe County last night investigating the crash site. The Federal Aviation Administration is reporting the plane went down moments after taking off from Asheville Regional Airport. Witnesses say the aircraft caught on fire and heavy smoke was visible in the area. Thankfully, all 5 passengers on board were able to safely get off the plane. The FAA and National Transportation Safety Board are working to determine the cause of the crash. Now, this is a crazy story. A woman in her mid-30s is somehow still alive after falling 200 feet off a cliff in Southern California. The LA County Sheriff's Department releasing this 10th video of rescue crews flying in a helicopter before one officer rappels down to the shoreline to reach the woman and uses a hoist to lift her off the ground. Investigators say the woman was walking along a footpath when she accidentally fell down the cliff. It's not clear how she fell or how much time passed before someone heard her calls for help. The woman suffered only minor injuries.
All right, well, back here in North Carolina, Asheville police say someone vandalized a mural of pop star Tina Turner with a red swastika. The symbol appeared earlier this week, and it happened on a pull-down storefront outside Static Age Records in downtown Asheville, which the store uses to honor several music legends. And one store employee said his reaction was, quote, a mix of deep disappointment and anger. The symbol has since been painted over, and police are still searching for the vandal.
They make it a lot more expensive to try and trace your family roots. U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services is considering raising the price to obtain your genealogical records. In some cases, the proposed fees could jump nearly 500%. The records include historical documents of immigrants and who came to the U.S. between late 1800s and the mid 1900s. A group of genealogists, historians, and advocates are banding together to fight that price hike.
Helping victims of domestic violence, how a new piece of technology could be a lifesaver for those who find themselves in danger.
And it's something you might take for granted seeing outside your home, but that's not the case across the country where this opossum ended up. That's raising eyebrows. We're coming to the end of the final weekend of 2019, which means it's time for the last weekend box office report of the year.
Okay, so heading into the weekend, everyone expected Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker to stay on top of the box office, but how much did the blockbuster reel in this weekend? Rick Damigella shows us the countdown.
Oh, wow, here he comes.
Yes, your eyes aren't deceiving you. Yeah, it's him. Thank you, thank you.
Spies in Disguise, starring the voices of Will Smith and Tom Holland, opened below expectations but managed to break into the top 5 with $13.2 million. Its animated competition Frozen 2 continued its box office run in 4th place on ticket sales of $16.5 million.
I can't because...
Because of what?
You won't tell.
Never.
I scorched my dress.
The latest adaptation of Little Women placed 3rd, just barely ahead of Frozen 2 with $16.52 million. Jumanji: The Next Level held on to 2nd place this weekend, bringing in an additional $35.3 million to its box office haul.
Confronting fear, it's the destiny of a Jedi.
Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker easily surpassed its competition over the holidays, repeating in 1st place with an estimated $72 million. The 9th and final film in the Skywalker saga now commands a $341 million domestic gross and over $704 million at the global box office. In Hollywood, I'm Rick Damigella.
The Rise of Skywalker has its tractor beam set on making $1 billion globally, which it is expected to do sometime in January. And once it does, The Rise of Skywalker will be the 9th movie released in 2019 to reach that mark in the global box office. But more importantly, Danny, there was a lot going on in football today, right?
Not so much for the Panthers.
Not for the Panthers at all.
They didn't look good today at all. Hey, we are ready for Fox 8 Sports Sunday. The NFL regular season comes to an end. Who's in, who's out of the playoffs? And we'll see how things ended up for those Panthers. Not well. But first, we usually find out about coaching changes tomorrow on Black Monday. But tonight, the Cleveland Browns announcing that guy, Freddie Kitchens, has been fired after just 1 season. The team had high expectations this year, but finished 6-10. We'll be right back.